Welcome to Expert Talks right here at Kalkine TV, a show where we meet industry professionals and leaders, inspiring us to meet our maximum potential. Today, we're meeting Warren Livesey, founder of Buy Airspace, designed to meet the present-day need of more living spaces for an ever-increasing population. Mr. Livesey believes we need to begin opting for non-conventional ways of development and airspace development by Buy Airspace. It's one such solution which can help fulfill the demands by utilising the airspace on top of existing buildings. It's a futuristic thinking airspace specialist idea in creating rooftop and strata developments, helping owners fund building repairs and sustainability upgrades. Harnessing technology and modern methods of construction, Buy Airspace works closely with a range of stakeholders, including apartment owners, local council, housing associations, and asset managers to help them realise the potential of their properties. Warren, thank you so much for joining us here today at Kalkine.
Oh, thank you for having me, Rose.
Now, you've certainly been in the business for a long time and you've met many homeowners over the years, since 2008, in fact, helping strata owners realise their potential of their undeveloped airspace. How did you originally come up with this idea?
Just doing it myself, really. I owned a very small, dilapidated two-bedroom top-floor apartment in an apartment block, just in Tamarama, and there are three other owners, and ultimately trying to convince them of this beautiful opportunity that we had. There was this massive roof space above us, and there was a large basement below, and we could literally double the size of our apartment. Had the ground floor guys take the basement, and we took the roof, and ultimately turned that roof into additional two-bedroom, two-bathroom apartments. So yeah, so doing it myself really kind of was the cut and grind of it. I then cut my teeth on a couple of other projects in the Bondi, Tamarama, Bronte area. And then from there on, I've been teaching other clients how to do it themselves, as well as do my own projects.
So you've certainly turned this into a solution for what really is a prevailing housing crisis that's really fast developing here in the country.
Well, that's right. I mean, strata makes up about $1.1 trillion worth of the actual real estate here in this country. It's one of the largest sectors that we have. And in New South Wales, we have about 80,000 old apartment blocks that have been built nearly maybe between 30 to 80 years ago. And the problem with a lot of these that are up along the coast is that they weren't built with cement and concrete, as you would have thought. It was lime mortar. You had to come through from the UK, shipped in, and it was quite expensive. So a lot of these older buildings are being really dilapidated via the weather coming through, and the salt kind of corroding the brick ties in between you. Everyone's heard of concrete cancer and the likes. That's where the salt gets into the concrete and blows it out. So really, it's just a focus of how we can focus on the older buildings. I know there's a big focus at the present moment about all these new apartment blocks and how they are sustaining, but my thought is to try and find a solution to fix all these older apartment blocks that need to be more sustainable for the environment.
And so with these older buildings, there must be so much maintenance involved as costs for these strata owners originally. Can buying the airspace and developing the airspace actually help to fulfill those costs that can be really expensive?
Absolutely. It is a little mini gold mine, you could say. Property prices have been doing really, really well. You know, everyone's got into the gold mine and dug away 80 to 90% of the gold that's there, but the remaining or the residual 10% that no one actually even knows that's there, or to actually account it, is to do more developments into the airspace. So of the $1.1 trillion of strata, there's an estimated of about $110 billion worth of space that is underutilized or not utilized. So that 110 billion can potentially be used for those 80,000 odd apartments blocks to actually bring them up to standard. And so, improve their fire. Sometimes it's reskinning and making them upgradable. You've got solar roofs, you've got rainwater tanks, make it more communal spaces up in the roof or individual apartments. So it's really kind of just using the building's unused area and using the capital that can generate to actually then fix a building and bring it up to scratch so that people actually get to enjoy it as well as increase their asset.
It really sounds like such a win-win in every regard. Now, I can only imagine that there are some hurdles that need to be jumped over in terms of getting those allowances past council and whatnot, and making sure that all of the strata holders are on board. How complicated can that be? And why is that something that really must be outsourced to someone such as yourself?
The challenge was when I started, really. It's with me, it was just a small apartment block of 4 owners. You know, trying to get the other 3 on board, it's a struggle. Not everybody talks. There's a big diplomatic and political type of sequence that you have to get through. And a lot of those people have different financial needs or wants or desires, or people may be going on holiday or sick or lost their job. So everyone is in such a mixed financial state that they are 90% of the people I speak to just can't get that extra step. They go around in circles and circles. The bottom floor guys don't want the guys in the top to build up into the roof because they're going to make an absolute killing. And the guys at the top floor are not willing to pay enough money for the roof space for them to do it. So you'll notice all these dilapidated apartment blocks that are around, beautiful locations, multi-million-dollar apartment blocks, but they're just going nowhere because there's just this infighting in between the owners. I think the analogy is that first becomes death, then it's divorce, moving, and then going to a strata meeting. You know, everybody hates it. It's nothing. They have to run back home to do a strata meeting. They're like, oh no, I don't want to do that. So what my suggestion is, in order to be able to gain this additional capital to fix up these particular buildings, you need to actually entrust a strata development agency of some degree that is ultimately professional and know what they're doing, you know, ultimately has this all kind of planned out from start to finish and will get the job done. Opposed to internally, when the owners try to do it, there is this constant movement and flow that just dies out. Someone might sell or someone doesn't.
Absolutely.
Really, I see it's the opportunity is getting the money together. The best way to do that is get someone that knows how to do it.
And in terms of having approvals through councils and through all the right channels, that's obviously something that's best managed by someone like you as well.
Exactly. We have close on 2 million immigrants or people immigrating through to New South Wales just in the next 5 years after COVID. And whereabouts are we going to put them? Obviously, housing affordability is absolutely through the roof, excuse the pun. But, you know, instead of building the cities out wider and expanding the infrastructure, which is obviously your hospitals and your schools and your roads, what I'm suggesting is that we use the infrastructure that we have here more efficiently and use the existing buildings, which look great, just build up, just do another roof attic conversion or roof apartment or roof development and use that money to fix the building, opposed to a lot of people do, they knock the building down, get rid of all that beautiful heritage that was there, just to knock up another concrete block. And it's quite ugly and people are very much against it. So I'm just saying it really ticks a lot of boxes. We get to keep the aesthetics of our little Bondi and Brontes and the places up north and south, keep what we've got, make it better, but by using something that's not yet been capitalized.
So you've mentioned, you know, a little bit further north or south. Do you have plans to expand further beyond Sydney and the east?
Well, yes, I think it's a great opportunity for anyone and everyone. Anyone that actually is in an apartment block and feels that they cannot afford the additional upkeep of the building. Most people have gone through and bought 10, 20, 30 years ago when it was really cheaper, I guess you could say, and nowadays may not have the money because they might be retired. Or you got the other generation that have just bought in at these huge, lofty kind of prices, and the last thing they have is another $100,000, $200,000 to sink in to fix the building as well. So people do sit in that, what should I do? Where do I have to sell? Do I have to go somewhere? I'm saying, no, just look above you the answer's right above your head.
You must find that you're personally constantly looking at potential everywhere you go, because now that you mention it, it just does make perfect sense, doesn't it? Is that what you do? You just have this eye line that's always looking at potential spaces?
Me and all my close friends, really. I have this great opportunity where people are like, Warren, did you see that? Did you see this? And ultimately, there's just this invisible line that runs along the actual roadside of where council allow you to build up to, but a lot of people haven't. So that it's kind of free air, you know, and it's an opportunity actually to make money out of thin air, in the fact that you can actually sell that development space to someone else without actually developing it.
So it's just a market that hasn't really been tapped into before. Do you feel as though it's inevitable you'll have major competitors in this field, or do you feel quite confident at this stage that you're the first one to put your hand up and hit the ground running?
I hope there are, and I hope there are many, because that means the industry has adapted, has chosen that this is an opportunity that people wish to go down towards. You only have to look north to get the example, all the way through Europe, through the US and through the UK. Just in the UK itself, in the last 6 months, they have guaranteed everybody within London that they can go up 2 levels with minimal planning requirements. So they've seen the need. They are selling airspace. They believe it's going to be produced, or at least 5% of the existing buildings are going to be built up into their airspace within the 5-10 years time. So just hoping that Australia will catch on to that thought and feel and take it there. And I guess the real thing that kind of makes a bit of a giggle coming here is that so many of these apartment blocks have this A-frame roof, which is fantastic in Europe because the snow falls on it and then goes away. But there's not much snow that falls along the Australian coastline. So all these A-frame roofs are...
I haven't seen much in Bondi recently, I should put it that way.
Not too much. So there's all that empty space. Let's put it to good use, is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, and just a very quick question now about logistics. I wonder, for someone who's not an expert in the field, is it difficult to get the materials and the builders and to be working at such a higher level?
Well, no, is the real reality of it, because you've already got the foundations there. You know, the building is already there. You're not having to clear the site, demo what's there, put new foundations in, and then build up. It's already quick and easy. Ultimately, you've got your foundations, you've got your electricity, water rates, telephones are all connected in already. And ultimately, you're going up into the roof space, so it's lightweight material. People say that they're worried about the weight that it puts on, but your traditional roof has all these tiles. And if you're to add up the tile roof, just taking that weight off the building, on average is anything from about 8 to 9 tons. So you are putting back 13, 14, 15,000 tons worth, but you are taking away a lot of weight as well, dead weight, literally. So councils are very much getting on board with this. They see it as an opportunity to get those buildings up to scratch and have the right fire upgrade requirements, because that's what you really need to do. In order to go up into the roof, council will say to you, you have to make the whole building safe to do so.
Which makes perfect sense. Now, in terms of anyone wanting to invest, it just really does sound like something that's going to go gangbusters, particularly with the precedents being set overseas through Europe, as you mentioned, and elsewhere. If someone wants to really get behind you in this, do you need to just be a strata owner working on your own project, or can you be a private investor?
Exactly. It's a property of buy and sell. You know, you have your real estate agents and you get your buyers agents, and you have your buyers and sellers. A seller is anyone that owns a roof space or part of a roof space, and a buyer is any investor that wants to kind of make themselves known by contacting me at Warren at buyairspace.com and say that they'd like to invest. And we actually try and match up the investor with the owners of that strata block, because they're going to be initially the additional owner of that block. So they then bring those funds through and bring it through. But ultimately, it's a risk-free opportunity for the owners of the roof space, because ultimately the investor would be paying for the development costs. So the owners would be given an options contract saying, would you be interested in having someone live on the roof and give you up to, say, $2 million for that particular space? The owners might say, great, love the idea, let's see what happens with council. They sign an option which basically states that the developer can come along, put all the plans through council, get it all signed off, and if it gets approved by council, that's when the actual investor pays the building owners that up to $2 million for that particular space, and then they have the ability to build up into it. So the owners are they don't have to pay for the DA, they don't have to talk about it internally, they just have to say, do we want up to $2 million for that space? And I think it's a simple answer to that.
That really does sound like the most ideal risk-free scenario. It's brilliant. You've got nothing to lose, really. Well, Warren, that's about all we've got time for today, but we look forward to chatting with you again and absolutely watching this space as it progresses and starts to really take off. And thank you again for your time today here at Kalkine.
Thank you, Rose. I really appreciate it. Cheers, everyone.
Chat to you soon. That was Warren Livesey, the founder of Buy Airspace here in Australia. And if you would like any more information, you can take a look at kalkinemedia.com and Buy Airspace as well. But that's it for Expert Talks here at Kalkine today. I'm Rose Jacobs. Have a great afternoon.